Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is October 29th, 2024. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. My Tuesday went well. Work was pretty easy, no complaints. I was mostly by myself to like the very end of the day, which I liked. It was nice. But overall, day was fine. Day went well. No big hangups or anything like that. Gym went well. I was like thinking because I got stopped by a train on the way to the gym, and I was like, ooh, for the sake of time, maybe I cut out like a little bit of my cardio, and I was like about to do it, and then after I got done like lifting like free weights or whatever, I was like, no, get your ass on the fucking bike. So I get on the bike and it was fine. It was good. But yeah, overall good day, and we're wrapping it up. Well, before I go eat, but yeah, with some podcasting, talking about some news in my life, all those daily times and trials, if you will. But yeah, let's see. Like I said, overall good day. Thumbs up, both of them. Let's do a food corner real quick. I did a Mexican beef and rice bowl that, of course, I made. It went well. It was yummy. It was tasty. Had some chips on the side. Had some tortillas. So, everything came together. It was nice. Let's see here. Do I really have anything else to really blog about? No. The hopes are that I don't give you guys a 40-minute episode today, but we'll see. Fingers crossed. Knock on wood. But yeah, let's go ahead and do our startup. I want to get through hopefully a quick corrections, and we can just get right into the news. Okay, so the correction is in regards to Lunchly, bit of the Mr. Beast stuff. Excuse me. In the last episode and in a prior episode where we were talking about Lunchly, I thought that the Prime energy drinks were going into the Prime or into the Lunchly kits. It turns out it is Prime Hydration. That's a bit different. Prime Hydration's a little bit more like Gatorade and less like a Rockstar energy drink. Though I was just kind of scrolling through like just like, oh, is this like healthy? Is this recommended? And I think that I've read one source that like it's not recommended for kids 15 or younger. So that's not a good sign. And plus, it really doesn't change much because we're still talking about moldy cheese in the fucking kits. So, it's still poo poo and boo to, KSI, fucking Logan Paul, and Mr. Beast for sure. And then also, I was just kind of dwelling on it because I'm like, man, why does this whole Rosanna Pansino thing, like, why does it rub me so wrong? Like, why am I so, because really at the end of the day, because I've been seeing more people kind of come up and talk about it, like definitely the allegations and the stuff, revealed in these, these chats, it's definitely really fucked up, and I'm not rooting for Mr. Beast in this shit at all. No way. Like, if anything, if he takes that Diddy vacation, by all means, like, go for it. But I'm like, I think it's, once again, I kind of just looked at Rosanna Pansino was like, oh, is she doing like a clout surf? Is she just trying to do this for clicks and attention? But I kind of, did a little bit of digging. I saw, oh, here's a reason why. And it looks like she was in this Mr. Beast video. It was like a YouTube hide and seek thing or something to that effect. Some big Mr. Beast game thing or whatever. And she was one of the people who it came out and said, hey, this has been a heavily edited video. Like, you literally took me out of winning and I was in like the top 3 type of thing. And, I think ever since then, she's kind of had a chip on her shoulder. And I'm not saying this to denote the things that she's bringing up. I'm only bringing this up to say, okay, this is something now for me that is a little bit more of a tangible reason as to why she's doing it. Because, like, she's a YouTuber. I can believe that, like, she's done, I think, like, over a decade in the game. Cooking, doing cookbooks, and making content, like, with that. That's awesome. By all means, go for it. She said, yeah, I was more or less out the game, and then this brought me back in a big way. And I could kind of see this because, hey, if you get played like this, it's gonna turn you into a hater. And being a certain kind of hater, I can latch onto that energy. It's giving Kendrick, you know what I mean? I get that shit. So a little bit more in her corner, I guess, now to that effect. I still think, I would hope that the FBI would have already been on this. So we'll see. Maybe this is just one of those things where, like, do you ever see that where people will do a thing where they tag customer service and they'd be like, hey, T-Mobile, I thought you cared about your customers. How come my phone's not working? Like, I honestly eye roll at that shit because I'm like, my friend, you literally have a whole customer service you can call, and if you're getting screwed over, then you're just getting screwed over. Those are the facts of life. But I do feel like the younger millennials, the Zoomers, and beyond, I don't know, they treat social media as like this platform where they can name and shame a company into getting the customer service that they were, screwed over on. And in some ways I should, say, hey, I salute that. But other ways I'm just like, just get this out of my fucking feed, please. I didn't come here for this. Like, and it's just not how I would move. So I always look at it with a stinky eye. Maybe I shouldn't. That's maybe a faux pas on me. But whatever. Just kind of got to the bottom of things. It's been doing some dwelling, whatever. So yeah, enough of that aside. Let's put the fucking moldy lunch sleeves away and let's get to the fucking news. A lot of this is going to be out of the Middle East. We're talking Lebanon, we're talking Gaza, we're talking the IDF, we're talking good old Israel, just boom, 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 blowing everyone fucking up because they just have a license to kill. Let's just say it. They got a license to ill. But yeah, let's go ahead and start with the BBC. Lebanon says 60 killed in Israel strikes on eastern city. That's a weird headline. Like, wouldn't you just say Israeli strikes? I know I'm not one to talk, but just to say, hey, not even the guys who, the big guys, they don't even do the headlines perfect, right? Nobody's perfect. So cut me some slack. Anyway, at least 60 people have been killed in Israeli attacks on Lebanon's eastern Bekaa Valley, the Lebanese health ministry said. 2 children were among those killed in strikes which targeted areas, 16 areas in the Baalbek region. The ministry said 58 people were wounded, adding rescue efforts are still underway in the valley, which is a Hezbollah stronghold. The Israeli military has not yet commented. Now, there's obviously more here to read if you'd like to, but I am going to try to just lily pad along here because we have a lot to cover, and I really don't want to get too bogged down. But also from the BBC, and sticking to the Lebanon region, Hezbollah announces Naim Qassem, I'm sure I'm getting that wrong, but Naim Qassem as new leader. Hezbollah has announced the group's deputy secretary general will become its new head. Naim Qassem replaces long-term leader Hassan Nasrallah, who was killed in an Israeli airstrike in Beirut last month. He is one of the few senior Hezbollah leaders who remains alive after Israel killed most of the group's leadership in a series of attacks. The appointment comes as a conflict in Lebanon intensified in recent weeks. I mean, they literally called this a decapitation campaign, or at least some news outlets have called it that. And I mean, it's apt because they literally said, we are going, like, in the same way that they went through in Gaza and said, oh, with Hamas, we are going to try to take out as much or all of the leadership as we can, and that's like gonna be our way of saying we got rid of Hamas, when really they said, okay, that's what we're gonna do, but they just mauled through a bunch of people and bunch of like fucking infrastructure and just said, oh, okay, yeah, we with through all of our precision strikes and actions, and even flooding fucking tunnels, we're doing it, we're making it happen, even though, hold that thought, because there's still a lot of fucking action going on in Gaza, which we're gonna get to. They've essentially done the same thing in Lebanon with Hezbollah, only they move very fucking fast and very quickly. It seems like it was in a fraction of the time, and even with Gaza, that happened very quickly. It was under a year. But yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like top officials in Hezbollah have kind of been on the run or in hiding. It's definitely worth mentioning that there is a strong chance that Naim Qassem is not even in Lebanon right now. That it's a lot like the Ismail Haniyeh situation, where he has been potentially relocated, moved to Iran, where he's essentially harder to get. But just that's why I mentioned Ismail Haniyeh, because yeah, he's harder to get, but they got him. So I mean, there's a chance that that's not even a fucking safe place for him. But I know there were some stories in between just with top brass that I hadn't really covered. Like there was someone who was related to Hassan Nasrallah, and he was kind of stepping up and talking, and then he got hit, and then he was gone. So I mean, like, that's what I mean. It was that quick. It was that heavy how Israel has kind of been moving in this situation. So, I mean, for them to finally, officially get a new guy in power is something. And we'll see, where, the story kind of goes from there. Was there anything else I really wanted to pull? No, but obviously you can, go to the article and get all the details. Now I wanted to move on to the Gaza part from NPR. An Israeli airstrike in North Gaza killed dozens of people as parliament bans UNRWA. Hopefully I'm not frozen here. Okay, no, it looks like we're moving. Okay, good. Whew. An Israeli airstrike on a building in northern Gaza overnight killed at least 60 Palestinians and wounded more, according to Gaza's health ministry, in one of the deadliest attacks in weeks. The strike hit a 5-story building in an area of Bet Leah, where families of displaced Palestinians were taking shelter. At least 25 of those were killed were children, according to health officials. The Israeli military said it was aware of civilian deaths and is looking into the incident. It's also worth noting that with the Lebanon situation, I don't think I mentioned that they didn't even comment on it. And that's just a fucking, just, like, don't get me wrong, it is the insult to the injury here where, they don't even have the decency to even lie about it and say, oh, well, we were trying to do a precision strike and we were trying to, like, hit terrorists, and, these things happen. Human shields, they're crazy with that shit. And, like, they don't even justify it sometimes. They just stay on mute. It's like, oh, that's fucking great. But let's see here. The attack comes as Israeli forces have hindered medical and rescue services in the area, and as Israeli parliament voted to ban the main United Nations agency that provides aid to Palestinians, UNRWA, which we've talked about before in a bit. It's also worth noting too that I mentioned the polio vaccination campaign that was started, I want to say like a month or I feel like it was about a month or so ago. That is essentially dissolved because of the lack of ability to get the aid back in for the second half of that campaign that I discussed from then. But to make things even worse, the idea that you are literally going to ban all of UNRWA, essentially just saying, hey, we're taking the UN out of the equation because we can for sure establish that there were 9 people who were involved in October 7th who are working in UNRWA. And it's worth always noting in this situation because it's crazy that the fucking Viper fucking BBC news media will even put the microphone to people being like, well, I mean, isn't it crazy that, like, there were terrorists, there were Hamas in UNRWA? Isn't that kind of fucked up? Doesn't that give, like, Israel a reason to do this? And it's like, and the person has to say, ma'am or sir, there were 9 people. Initially 12 people, when you narrow that down to fucking 9 for a concrete fact, I guess. And there are 1,000 people, more than 1,000 people working in UNRWA to help refugees, to help people in need, to give aid to people who need it, who are in crisis, let alone pre a year ago. You know what I mean? Because this shit has been on fucking going. It is a nonstop issue. And essentially Israel has now used this situation, has used October 7th and used everything to say, yeah, these guys are terrorists. They equal terrorists. And when I heard this shit initially, because this has kind of been going on for a few days, it took me back to a conversation I had heard, where a person had kind of laid it out, where it's like there is a misconception at play for the West that you think that the liberal and conservative halves of the Israel conversation, like, are divided on these kind of things. But really, this is definitely one of the major things where they can kind of come in and say, no, we want this. We want this kind of activity. We want this kind of war. And you look at the polls, you look at what happens, you look at parliament. This isn't Benjamin Netanyahu's fault solely. And I think that happens a lot where you get to say, oh, this is all Benjamin Netanyahu. This is all big bad Bibi. And that there are doves in the works. And if you let them kind of fucking, get into power and work the system, things will be better. And it's like, no, motherfucker, it won't. It's just a different shade of oppression. It's just a different shade of fucking genocide. and that it's so disheartening. Not surprising for me at this point for sure, but it's just one of those things where it's blow after blow after blow here. And the idea that you're literally trying to take UNRWA out of the equation is insane. It is insane. And yet here we are. It is something that the Israeli parliament, well, I think it was like 89 or 80 something to 9, were in favor for this happening. So it's 87 to 9. I'm reading now from another article, just really quick before we move on to our last story here. And this was CNN. Israel has banned the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees. That could be devastating for millions. So, I mean, at least, hey, the media is aware. But once again, they always got to play both sides on that shit, I guess. Fair and balanced. No spin, I guess. No, to me, it's very, very fucking apparent that, like, with the exception of Al Jazeera, like, most media I've even used for this fucking podcast is just, like, very much just in lockstep with whatever the fucking West, aka whatever fucking Israel wants here. And, I try to read that, pull from that, pull whatever facts and stuff I can, but I'm going to say it my way. You know what I mean? You're going to get it fucking Zeke's way. I don't know what else to tell you here. But yeah, this shit's fucked. It's been fucked. But y'all know I'm going to keep trying to do covers on the shit. So I just wanted to lump as much as I could into one episode this time and just do that. But we have one more thing I wanted to cover, and then I'll let you go. I wish I was leaving on a sweeter note, but we're just not. So let's go ahead and hit a little soft reset and take a little break. Take our last break. And we'll go ahead and close it out. We got to go to Argentina. Crazy ass Argentina. Though this is more of not a natural disaster situation, but kind of something like that. Anyway, let's go ahead and take our last break and we'll close it out. Okay. From CNN. One dead and others trapped beneath rubble of collapsed hotel in Argentina. A man has died and up to 9 other people are missing after a 10-story hotel collapsed in Argentina. The 10-story Dubrovnik hotel in the city of Villa Gesell, about 230 miles or 370 kilometers from the capital, Buenos Aires, on the Atlantic coast, collapsed early on Tuesday morning, according to a statement from the municipal authorities. The victim is thought to have been an 80-year-old man who lived in the building next to the collapsed hotel. Minister of Security of the province of Buenos Aires, Javier Alonso, said on the TN News channel. His partner was rescued, but authorities are not sure whether the couple's son was at the site. Firefighters, paramedics, and police were working to remove debris in order to reach people who are thought to be buried. Now, I'm not sure exactly, what potentially caused this collapse. If I do find out any information about that, I'll be back to report on it. When I initially heard this story, I think there was like 9, but maybe that number has gone up. That's why I'm not seeing that number here. But yeah, obviously very unfortunate. And when I say crazy with Argentina, really all I mean by that, by the way, is just politically, just with Javier Milei, his crazy ass fucking shit. But he obviously isn't involved here, at least not as of yet. But yeah, I will definitely keep you guys posted, guys and gals, MBs, everybody. But yeah, that's it. That's the episode. Okay, cool. We're clocking in at a lot better. About half the time. There we go. We love to see it. But yeah, let's see. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, become a newsie today. I shout you out at the top of the month. Plug your name, plug a project if you like. Let's see here. Feel free to hit me up for free on IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. There he goes. I remember. Perfect recall. Let's see. Other socials. You can hit me up on, the X, the Everything app. You can hit me up on Facebook or Meta. There you go. That's Mark's app. Really love the subscription on YouTube. That's a free way to help out the effort. Helps out my algorithm. The more subscribers you get, obviously I'm on the road to 500 subscribers. And, that helps me get paid, at least potentially. And then also leaving likes is helpful. Leaving comments is helpful. Sharing is caring. And rinsing and repeating on any platform, like whether you're on Spotify or Amazon for podcasts or Apple for podcasters. I guess that's actually where most of my listener group is from. So yeah, and even if you don't do those things, that's a-okay. I really just appreciate anyone who listens. It really does mean the world to me to know that I'm not just speaking solely into the void, whether it's just a couple of people or it's like hundreds. I'm really just hi, nice to see you. Nice to, feel free to say what's up. But yeah, it really just means the world to me that you actually give a shit. And even if you're just a lurker or a clicker, I like to say the clickers. I like to give props to the clickers because technically I'm a clicker. You tune in for your minute or so and you deuce out. You know what I mean? I love you. I respect you. You are seen. You are heard. Click. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.